Hi, everybody. I'm Robin,
And I'm Emily.
and we're from the Athol Public Library.
And today we're going to show you how to make some paper beads.
Today, we're going to show you how to make two different styles of beads. We're going to show you how to make a barrel-shaped bead, which is this a basic, simple shape of a bead, and we're also going to make these nifty tapered beads, which have a little bit more. These are kind of hard to see. Maybe you can see the ones that Emily's got. That have a little bit more depth to them, so they're thinner so that you can see more of the layers of the paper. So stuff out of the way, yeah, and make some room to get started. Okay, so the first thing we need is to get that magazine page. So when you're thinking about the colors of your beads, the magazine pages, it's an interesting thing. So I love the colors that are on this page, but chances are when we're making the beads and you're rolling them up, especially if you make a barrel bead, you're really only going to see what's at the very top or the very bottom of your page, because that's what it starts and ends with. When you make the tapered, you can see a little bit more of the edges, but so just be thoughtful of what your page has at the top and the bottom. If there's a whole lot of white space there, you're going to end up with pretty white beads.
Or any fine print for advertisements might be fine
for advertising.
I've had that happen a couple times. I think I have a bead that says register for some reason.
But that could be, if you're going for something like when we were talking about the book page beads, that could be a lot of fun if you're going for a word.
Yes.
If you're going for
spell out a whole sentence.
You could in your bracelet, yeah. Okay, so how big are our beads?
Our beads are about a half an inch wide. You can go bigger or smaller, but a nice standard size to start with is about a half an inch. So we've gone ahead and marked off what a half an inch looks like on our page.
But just to draw those straight lines, if you mark a half an inch at the top and at the bottom and you draw a straight line to connect. And so this is a great one if you're with the kids and you're doing this activity for practicing measuring and marking. This is a great activity for that. So there's my page that some samples that I marked off, so you can see, just marked off a whole bunch of them. You can see on Emily's page, she's got them marked there. But now we're just going to go ahead and cut them up. Are we ready to roll?
I think we are. So that means we need to grab our dowel or skewer. Remember, this is about an eighth an inch wide. Some alternatives to this would be a very skinny paintbrush.
A knitting needle, a thin knitting needle. The double points that you use to make socks are often very thin. Those would work. Maybe a thin coffee stirrer. Sometimes they're round plastic ones. You can get, they're different shapes, but sometimes you can get a round one. So
the thin end of a chopstick too.
Yeah. So the thicker what you're rolling with or what you're rolling around, the thicker the center of your bead will be. All right.
So let's show them how to roll it up. So when we roll, we want to have the side that we actually want to show face down to start. Okay.
I'm going to open my glue stick up too, because I always don't think to do that.
And we're just going to start by just rolling the very end of our paper around that, what I have as a dowel. I'm going to add a little glue and then keep rolling. And you want to keep it nice and tight. You don't want a lot of big pockets.
And keep your edges kind of squared up and even. But you don't want to get crazy tight though, because what happens if you get crazy tight?
Then you cannot take it off the stick.
You cannot
and you get sad. I have a really pretty bead that see if I stopped it, I would have this nice floral pattern here that is going to disappear in 2 seconds.
Yeah. You could, you can, if the very end of the paper, you can always, cut your strips a little bit smaller too, because really the thickness of the bead is determined by the thickness of the paper and the length of the paper. And really you could use pretty much any kind of paper that you want. We choose to do the magazine beads because we like to use recycled materials that you have around the house. But there are lots of different kinds of paper that you could use. You could use a book page. You could use wrapping paper. You could use, what else could you use? You could use scrapbook paper. That's a little bit thicker.
So you can see, because my top and bottom, or really the bottom of my page was blue, I ended up with a blue bead here.
And I am, as much as I enjoy my time on Facebook, I really don't want that to be on my bead because that's going to end up at the top of it. So you know what I'm going to do?
Snip it right off.
I'm going to snip it right off.
I think you could also, if you wanted something that was in the middle of the page, but you wanted a thicker bead, you could cut a section like this floral pattern here, and then wrap it around your, glue it and wrap it around so that you get that different color.
Yep, you sure could. We're gonna seal now, right?
Yeah.
Here it is. So is
We're using Mod Podge, but is mine glossy? Mine is glossy, yes.
Yeah, it has a nice shine to it. All of the different kinds of Mod Podge that there are out there, they have the glittery stuff, they have the matte, they have, so many. They have tons of them.
Oh, glittery would make fun beads, though.
It would make fun beads.
So alternatives, if you don't have Mod Podge at home, you can use a watered down white glue.
Yep, make a mixture, white glue and water, about equal parts.
Clear nail polish works as well. Might take a little bit longer to dry.
So I'm going to slide my bead off there. And let him sit.
I'm going to lay mine right on my... So we're going to leave that alone, let it dry.
Right.
And we'll make our other type of bead.
All right. Tapered beads.
So like the barrel beads, they're at their base, their widest point, they're about a 1/2 inch wide. Again, that you can change that as you wish if you want to make a bigger or smaller bead. But we've chosen 1/2 inch as our magic number today.
As our magic number. So I made this handy dandy little template as a way to measure the taper, which you could do. I just used the back of a cereal box. And you can just lay it on your magazine page and go ahead and trace your template. And then, so when you're doing the tapers, you're going to alternate your where the 1/2 inch end is. You're going to alternate, so it's going to be at the bottom, and then the next one, the 1/2 inch, is going to be at the top, and then you're going to go back and forth. So the skinny fat. Of how you.
So whereas the barrel bead is a straight strip of paper, the tapered bead starts with a triangular cut piece of paper. So you can see the difference there between those two. So this is the barrel, just a nice straight strip, and then our tapered comes to a skinnier point in the...
But the template will help you with consistency. If you make a template and then you follow it, then you're going to get the same size every time.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. So there we go.
Is it really?
It is.
Go there.
I'm just gonna cut one out because the triangle here. Mine are definitely more pointy than yours at the end.
And but
the style bead here.
It is. It's a little bit different, but that's totally preference, right? They're two different. They're really, if you want to have a bigger center or a thinner center, just is a little bit of a different style to do.
So after you have them cut out, the tapered bead is more or less the same process as our barrel bead. The most important thing is paying attention to where your paper is wavering as you're rolling it to try and keep it as centered as possible. So we're going to show you that process so you have a little bit of a hint of what that looks like. But once again, you're going to grab your dowel or skewer, whatever you're using, to roll around. You want the side that you want to see to be face down and facing away from you when you start.
Oh, I'm getting a little out of line. I'm getting a little wonky there. I'm gonna
Can't even see this. Start.
Add some glue. I think adding the glue as you go along helps it from unwinding if you happen to let go a little bit, and I think it just gives it a little bit of it just helps it to stay together better, makes it more secure.
Yes. And it's especially important to glue the very tip so that it doesn't come back up and to haunt you. It doesn't come back up to hop off the bead.
Yeah. So can you see, right, if I do this, can you see how it's starting to get a little bit in there? And there we go. I'm just going to scooch it over because it's starting to get out of line. What color is this one going to end up being at the end? I kind of like this one.
I have this nice rosy color on mine.
It's really, it's always just kind of interesting what the colors end up being. I'm always a little bit surprised by what I get.
Like you can guess, but you're never quite right.
Right. You're never
Especially
100%.
with these ones where they show so much of it.
Right. So there it is, right? It's got little nice blue edges there. I slid mine off of the dowel, and this was like a shish kebab skewer, and it's got a pointy end, and I popped it on the pointy end so that I could seal
easily just nudge it off.
Yep, I can just nudge it off there. Got my little Mod Podge there.
I would definitely say you want to kind of paint in the direction of your roll, if you can tell where that is. You don't want to lift up your little flap.
Mod Podge dries pretty quickly.
It does dry pretty fast.
Yeah, they're not going to be ready to roll right away. They're not going to be, ready to string right away. Going to have a little bit of drying time.
So for a bracelet, for an average adult, we need between about 6 and 10. Depends on how wide you made them and how many filler beads you used. So this one here, it's a little bit big on me, but it uses 10 of the barrel beads. Well, this one has a lot more filler beads, and it uses only 6 of the barrel beads. So
it has some great charms on it, though. That's a lot of fun with the charms.
Yes, I really like this turtle. Personal favorite here.
And this one is the bracelet itself is about 7 inches long. That's about the size of my wrist. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 of the beads, the 1/2-inch tapered beads that I made with some fillers in between. So once everything is dry and you go ahead and string it up, definitely you want to, for the bracelets, having the stretchy cord is important, because if you don't have stretchy cord, you're not going to get your bracelet on and off your wrist. Certainly you could use, we didn't talk about what other things you could use for stringing if you were doing, say, a necklace.
So if you're doing a necklace, you could use yarn. If you have a little wider hole for your beads, you could use something like embroidery floss. You could use, I think we said dental floss the last time we talked about this. What else could we use? We could use just fishing line. Fishing line would work pretty well. I think
fishing line would definitely work. Yeah. It is, and this is a great craft for all ages too. This is, it's a lot of fun to do with kids. Using a bigger, like a bigger dowel to roll around with. So I just went ahead and I tied that knot, and because this cord has a tendency to sometimes get a little bit to come undone. I'm just going to put a dab of the Mod Podge on it just to seal it up. And there it is. I'm going to kind of touch it so that it doesn't stick. There it is. There. Do you think it'll fit?
Yeah, it's stretchy. So
Yay.
I really like the pink colors you got in there. So
right, I did sort of my preppy pink and green I used, which is what I was going for. But look at that nice shine they have on them. I'm pretty happy with that. I should go back and redo the other one that I did so that it has a nice shine on it. Those are a lot of fun. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. We hope you had a great time making paper beads with us today.
You can check out the Athol Public Library YouTube channel and our Facebook page for more fun for the whole family.